Okay, listener question time, and we've got a couple of nice listener questions to get our teeth sunk into tonight. Feels like it's been a while since we've done one of these. And the first one tonight is from Pat, who wrote to us a few weeks ago saying, with the, and this is in quote marks, Gemma, much anticipated Robert and Michelle nuptials coming up, what Corrie weddings are most memorable to you?
Which weddings? Oh, the ones I got invited to are my favourites.
None of them. I think looking back on it, I don't think that weddings are a particularly as memorable thing on Coronation Street as some of the other big events. Like, especially if you've got weddings and deaths, usually the deaths stick in people's minds a lot more because there's only so much you can do at a wedding to make it stand out, and there's always going to be some kind of drama. So you can't always say, well, this wedding stood out because, to juxtaposition the romance and the ceremony of the day, there was this massive reveal because they often follow the same sort of
trajectory.
Yeah, and then they're over in a day, and there
really is there are only two ways out of it,
which are
you either get married or you don't.
Yeah, and someone's going to die. Some kind of revelation's going to happen.
Someone's going to
die. Sometimes for me, I think what makes a memorable wedding might be how much I like the couple and how much I want them to get married.
Or how much you don't like the couple and how much you don't want them to get married.
Yeah. So anyway, I think I had a look at our feature discussion list on our blog, and I was quite surprised to find we haven't actually ever done Corrie weddings as a feature discussion.
I don't think we're weddingy people, are we?
No, but I think
we don't like weddings. And don't like. Well, I don't not like weddings. I feel like I have to say I don't like them because I never get invited to any.
We will do a feature discussion on it at some point, so I think we'll try and keep this discussion briefish for now because we can expand on other Corrie wedding stats and things later on, and we'll probably end up doing a top 5 weddings on a Patreon episode at some point, but not in the near future. So we'll have a little mini discussion about it now. So do you want to get the ball rolling, Gemma? Are there any old Corrie weddings that stand out to you? Well,
most of the ones I remember are more recent ones because I obviously have some kind of memory loss problem.
Well, I just think that, as I was saying earlier, I don't think that apart from a few real classics, a lot of Corrie weddings are sort of a big at the time, but then they fade. So go on, who you got?
I really liked Jenny and Johnny's wedding because there were bikers involved, and Jenny had to ride on the back of a motorbike to go to hospital because that involved, it was like touching, it was quirky, it was fun.
Yeah, it was different. That's one that sprung to my
Rita.
That's one that sprung to my mind immediately as well. And I suppose that ties in with what I was saying earlier about if you're invested in the character more, you're going to remember their wedding more. And I loved Jenny and Johnny as a couple so much that when they actually got married, I was like, oh yeah, I am excited for them, rather than just saying, yeah, they're getting married. I suppose it was similar to the Shona and David one recently. That's like, oh yeah, I am happy that they found each other. Because sometimes characters can get married. I'm like, yeah, fine.
Wow, how long till
they're getting married? But I loved Jenny's excitement at the wedding. Like,
Jenny was one of the few brides I've actually been invested in her getting married for her own benefit.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, it's just like, oh.
She had all the Bridezilla stuff beforehand, didn't she? But actually, when it came to it, she was over the moon excited, not to do with any of the stuff that she'd planned for, because as it turned out, they just got married in a hospital room. But just the fact, I'm getting married, how exciting. I know that she had got married to Blokey beforehand, hadn't she? I think. Back in the 90s, but she was there. She was with
Blokey.
she was with Rita in hospital because there was all that drama there.
Don't even ask.
The fact that there was a speed wedding from Billy because they weren't allowed to be in the room for so long, I loved it. And also that was also the same episode as Aidan and Eva's wedding, wasn't it?
That was another really good one because that was if Michelle thinks she can top this wedding for drama and trying to call people out, she's kidding herself. This was at a fancy country mansion with a fountain outside that hosted a cat fight.
That was a
there were
classic
printouts.
fight.
I mean, there was like fake baby scans under everyone's chairs.
And
it was like there was a presentation, you know.
As I said, there's always some kind of drama.
People hanging out of windows.
There, but the fake baby was a great reveal that had been built up for a long time, and it was something that started as a bit of a silly story concocted by Toya and Eva, the whole baby swap thing, and it kind of led into
one
this.
Of these things that just got out of control.
Yeah,
people being locked in bathrooms. It doesn't matter. We're just briefly touching on some things that we remember.
Yeah, but that was a good episode because it had the two weddings. They were both very different. They were characters that I like because I'm a big Eva fan, and seeing the conclusion of her campaign to fleece Aiden. Yeah, was fantastic. So that was a great episode. That was one that sprung to mind for me.
That was a really good episode. I also really liked the the Carla and Nick wedding where Nick knew that Carla was a liar, and he held up a napkin in front of her face, and he's going, "What colour is this napkin? What colour is this napkin?"
I think that's the only thing that stands out to me about that wedding. But it's such it's an iconic line for us, but I don't think it's going to go down in the Corrie history.
The thing about Nick is that his madness is sublimely absurd at times, and this was one of those moments.
Yeah.
Because he was basically trying to say to Carla, like, you lie so much that if you told me this napkin, like, you would tell me this napkin's a different colour to the colour that it is. And then that culminated in him shrieking into her face, "What colour is this napkin?" And it made perfect sense to him at the time. But it just another sort of descent into madness from Nick.
It's because he found out she'd had a fling with Robert.
Well, yeah, and it was upset. You know, he was really upset, and she was like, "Yikes! I've been caught out here." Carla and Nick, any kind of romantic, romantic drama is not really my favourite thing, but you can't beat Nick.
Yeah,
getting mad on his wedding day at his bride.
I don't remember very much else about the wedding itself. It was
I've kind of
that. What colour is the napkin?
What colour?
It just shows that sometimes the little moments can.
It's just little vignettes that stick in your mind.
Who else you got?
I'm trying to remember. I really have vivid memories of Becky getting absolutely hammered on her wedding day.
That was fun.
Was that when because she had two weddings?
She had two weddings. The first one
was that when she was wearing a pink tutu dress and a tiara,
and she was on the balcony with a bottle of
I'm getting married.
Yeah, that was another one which is
she got so excited. She got so excited she got too drunk, and then she couldn't get married because the registrar or whatever was saying. Legally, I don't know.
I just love the unbridled joy from Becky. The fact that she's getting married after having such a rough life and living on the streets, and everything's finally gone good to her. And
the irony that really, she ruined it herself.
Yeah, you really believed how happy that she was. I mean, all brides in Corrie will look happy, but she was exuberant. Yeah, and we because we love Becky so much,
played excellently by Catherine.
Yeah, that was similar to the Jenny being so super excited about getting married, and Becky was so super excited. Totally believable.
I guess what
characters that I loved.
It's a small piece of authenticity in what can often be a quite cynical process in a soap, you know? Like, Corrie bosses at the beginning of the year, who's going to get married, let's do the wedding of this, this and this, and you kind of go through the rigmarole of will they, won't they, blah, blah, blah. And then what's going to be
the bump in the road? Yeah. Who's going to snog who? Or
in that process, especially if you're not too fussed on the characters, the point of a wedding can get completely lost. But Jenny and Becky were both just beside themselves with joy at being married, and that is such an authentically beautiful sentiment that you don't often get, no matter how much they try sometimes in a soap. So, you know, you can be touched by a wedding scene, and most usually I roll my eyes into the back of my head because of the awful vows that they make up. It's just nice to feel
they make up on the spot.
Yeah, it's usually. Like, I've written these vows, but I can't read them out. I just want to tell you from the heart. yeah, just feeling. I guess what we're trying to say is, in our cold, dead hearts, we like to feel emotion from time to time.
Yeah.
And these were moments when that happened.
I mean, another happy wedding for me was
when Pat shot Michelle.
Well, you know, that was a moment of happiness, and then it turned out that she survived.
She's still alive. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that was a memorable one.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine.
Really
we can talk about that one, because that was exciting when they were getting married, and then Pat bursts in, because that's after he's just shot Nicola, isn't it? And he's like, "Somebody help me!
Oh, my daughter! You only got to kill her."
Then he shoots Michelle's like, "Brilliant!" But you know that she's not going to die, and then he gets stabbed by Alice. That was a good one for the drama. But I was going to say, for another pure, unbridled happiness, joyous moment, it has to be Roy and Hayley's first wedding in the cafe, because they wanted to get married, but they obviously couldn't. This was back before transgender people were allowed to marry.
Well, it was before, because they wouldn't change her birth certificate. Is that? Because it was technically a gay wedding.
Yeah, basically it was. But then Hayley comes downstairs from the flat in the cafe, and she finds that it's all been decked out for her wedding, and then somebody or others been able to get the vicar to come, and they just have an in-cafe wedding, and it's not a legal wedding. So it's not
a legal wedding. It's not a legal wedding. It wasn't a legal wedding.
In the same way that Sinead and Daniel's wedding was a fake wedding, this was a fake wedding, really, but it was really, really beautiful, and because everybody loved Roy and Hayley, and they built up for a few years. Just what a perfect romance.
Whirlwind romance that took many years.
Yeah, so that doesn't make sense. A pure, loving,
pure but unorthodox romance.
That was very, very memorable to me, just because of how lovely it was. But if I was to think of big Coronation Street weddings that will go down in the Corrie history books, Les and Scylla's Status Quo wedding has got to go down there, just for it being a comedy of errors, really, where they show up at the church, which I think I'm trying to remember it now. It's like they've got a vicar there, but he's actually not even a properly registered vicar, and then they sneak into the church, which is set up for somebody else to get married, and then the actual wedding party arrives, so they have to do a really quick wedding, and then they sneak out the vestry or something. It sounds
like one of those dodgy 90s adverts where, like, you wouldn't steal a church.
And then they
wouldn't download someone else's wedding.
And then they go to the wedding reception, where they've got Status Quo playing, because what was the reason? It was something like one of the Status Quo people injure Les or something, and they'd agreed to play at his wedding. It was ridiculous. Familiar. Scylla was there with her 666 curls on her head. And
it was really Status Quo as well.
It was really Status Quo, yeah. And then they had the hilarious thing where Les thinks that he's been all rock and roll by smashing up a room, and then it turns out it was the room with all his wedding presents in, and the only reason that he and Scylla agreed to get married in the first place was so that they could get a load of presents. It was I loved it for just the sheer stupidity. They were like, if these couple are going to get married, then it's going to be a bit of a silly occasion, and they went to town with it, and they hammed it up to the max, and I just embraced it. I loved it, and then it all ended with them singing like "Rocking All Over the World" together or whatever. That was probably one of the most memorable ones for me. There's also, I mean, if you think about other drama ones like Michelle getting shot, Leanne and Peter's 50th Coronation Street anniversary wedding stands out to me, because that was after he'd just been pulled out of the rubble of the joinery, and he was on his deathbed, and then
Leanne didn't want to marry him.
I couldn't remember.
I thought she wasn't too fast, and then Ken came out of the room, and he basically went, Peter's going to die. Hadn't he been?
Yeah, there was something.
And he basically was kind of sort of going to her, look, it's not going to be for the rest of your life.
I remember that sort of being my heart being in my throat kind of moment. Like, is Peter actually going to die? They're going to kill him off for the 50th anniversary.
I think I remember you saying to me, he's not going to die, but you weren't convinced.
Yeah. That was quite an exciting wedding for me. What else was there? I'm trying to think of other exciting weddings. I got a few down here, and I don't think that any of them had quite the same drama as that. There was the one where Sarah and Jason were going to get married, and that was at the same time David was trying to get revenge on them by driving into the canal to reenact the Richard Hillman plunge. That was quite cool. We got to hear the You and Me song again. A few sort of classic ones I've got is like the recently watched Lisa Horton and Terry Duckworth getting married on classic Coronation Street, and that's when he is released from prison to get married, and I think Vera convinces the guard, one or the other.
She's like, "You're wearing a veil," and he's like, "I'm just the guard."
The guard, she convinces the guard to let him out of his handcuffs with a photo or something, and then he does a runner. That was always something I'd read about being quite exciting, and it was quite cool to watch it for real recently. Then I remember Linda and Mike's wedding, when that all came out about Linda having it off with his son Mark. That was quite a good one. I suppose if I'm thinking about weddings that had a different look to them, and as we said before, a lot of weddings are kind of, interchangeable. The Beth and Kirk 80s wedding a few years ago was quite a good one just for the look of it. The sham wedding, which they still haven't resolved.
Well, that sounds 80s. Sham.
We had... There's been a couple of good jiltings as well, to be fair. Sometimes what makes a good wedding is if it's the build-up to something where somebody gets jilted at the altar, which obviously the Eva and Aidan one that we mentioned earlier was. But my all-time classic jilting wedding on Coronation Street is when it was Shelley and Charlie, which was the culmination of the domestic abuse story, where he'd been absolutely foul to her for years or months, I don't remember, coming up to it. And then she was... she didn't seem to see, did she? She'd been so beaten down by this mental abuse that he'd subjected her to, and people were saying, you need to leave, and Bev was her mum, and then when in the end she said, no, I can't marry you, that was a real good joyous moment where, like you said, Bev was going, yeah, you go girl.
Like being hypnotised by a snake.
Absolutely loved that wedding. There was, I'm trying to think what other jiltings there have been. There have been...
Mavis and Derek.
Oh yeah, Mavis and Derek double jilted each other. I think I watched that on classic Coronation Street,
it's like
when it was on Granada
jinx
Plus.
to each other, except they said jilt.
that was just funny because both of them were such a pair of ditherers. The idea that they would jilt each other was just like typical Mavis and Derek. And then also... I'm reeling them off now.
I don't know. You told me that we weren't going to go too much into it.
No, I've got my list here, so...
Okay.
And I'm actually thinking, no, that was a good one. When Fiona Middleton was going to marry Alan, and then Jim bursts in and does this, no, don't marry him, Fiona, because of him having had...
Don't marry her, have me.
Yes.
Him, her.
So... There's been a few good Corrie weddings, but I think we'll unless you've got anything else to add, we'll leave the discussion there and maybe pick it up another time and go into a bit more detail.
I think we've had a good scattergun summary of some good, really good ones. Jogged a few memories there probably for people at home going, "Ooh, yeah," or "Huh." Perhaps.
I mean, I'm sure there are videos online on YouTube as well. You can watch classic Coronation Street weddings, but
also quite a few people going, "That's not what happened."
Yeah, probably.
You're remembering it completely
right,
wrong.
so let's go on to the next question. And Gemma seems to think that people aren't going to be interested in this. Well, I don't know why.
No, I didn't say that, Michael. I said it will be of great interest to a very small number of people, and a lot of people are not going to know what the hell is going on.
Well, okay, so this was a question that I'm interested to discuss. I want to see what your ideas are. And this is something that Adam on the Facebook group asked.
Yeah, I don't want to disparage Adam for asking this question. No, I thought it was a
great question.
Yeah.
He asked it about a year ago, and it wasn't even a listener questions post. He just mentioned it as a comment, saying, I think that would make a brilliant bit on the podcast. He's asked, if Coronation Street characters were Pokémon gym leaders, what type would they choose? And obviously this is right up my street. And since he asked that in December, I'm thinking, I want to tie that question into something. Well, 2 weeks ago, a new Pokemon game came out, and surely I can't be the only one of our listeners. In fact, I know of 2 other listeners that are also playing Pokemon at the moment. And if this is just a discussion for me and those 2 people, well, Fine. Everybody else, you skip ahead.
You're not thinking of a person who doesn't actually listen anymore, are you?
Yes, he does.
No, okay.
He's
He
going to
doesn't.
listen to this.
All right.
He's
Yes.
I've lost my track of what I was
Okay,
going to
right.
say
So
now.
can we just explain?
If
to
you don't
people?
want to, yes.
Everyone knows what I'm sure everyone knows what Pokemon is. It's the game where you go and collect little Pokemon monsters, Pocket monsters.
For
and
all
you-
ages.
Just be quiet. And you fight them against other people's little monsters and you have a little game. And the Pokemon are divided into types, it's like paper, rock, scissors, where some types are stronger against other types.
Yes.
You don't need to worry about most of this, but you do probably it would be interesting for you to know what the types are.
Yeah.
So you're going to go type by type.
Yeah, I need to get my notes up actually because I don't want to hide them from you because I want to. I found I wonder whether this would be difficult, and then when I started trying to match characters to Pokemon types,
Don't
it's
worry
like
about hiding it from me.
they started rolling off. So
This
the
was
gym,
my experience as well. I found this much easier than I thought it was.
So the gym leaders, which is who we're talking about, is as you play through the game. So if you're not interested in this at all, just look at the timestamp on the episode and skip ahead to the cabin. So the gym leaders, to play Pokemon games, the idea is to become the Pokemon master, and to do that
you have to catch them all.
You don't have to catch them all, but you do have to get 8 gym badges before you can go to the Elite Four.
No, listen, it doesn't matter. What are you trying to explain?
At the gyms, there is a super strong trainer, supposedly, and he specialises, or she, in Pokemon of a certain type.
Yeah, let's not be misogynist about Pokemon.
Yeah, so you might have this vampire-y looking one that specialises in dark types, or there might be a fiery redhead kind of one that specialises in fire types, or someone who walks around in a bikini that specialises in water types, that kind of thing. So I've gone through I've got a list of all the Pokemon
question, because I've even
types.
bloody forgotten the question.
If Corrie characters could be gym leaders in Pokemon, who would they be? But we're doing it the other way around, and we're saying, I'm taking it. Who would you pick to be a Coronation Street gym leader for each Pokemon type? And there's like 18 types or something. And we're going to go through them all.
God.
We're going to catch them all. Adam, what have you started? So, first type, Gemma, is the normal type Pokemon. So usually in the game, these are ones that don't have any particular elemental attributes to them. They're a little bit boring. And so who have you got as your normal type Corrie gym leader?
Right, I just need to also add in, I used to play Pokemon, but I have not played this for a long time.
No, and when I told you that we were doing this, you're like, I'm not going to know what to say, but I'm glad that you did.
I don't know what you're just basically. I don't know what you're talking about.
You played a bit of one of the games on the Game Boy Advance, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I remember this because I started
Yes.
it. And this was
how
my
I
first.
knew. This is how I knew this was true love between us.
Yeah, it was my first ever Pokemon game, and I played for about 15 hours or
30 hours.
Was it?
Yeah.
And then Jem was like, "Oh, can I have a go? It looks quite fun." So I was like, "Yeah, that's fine. You can start a new save file on it." And then you played it, and then you saved it, and then it turned out there was only one save file, and you overwrote my 30 hours of Pokemon game.
And you went,
I'll still marry you.
That's annoying. I'll have to start again.
I'll have to start over
and
again.
I would have taken the cartridge out and broken it in front of your face and made you eat it.
Yes. You got into Pokemon before I did, didn't you? Because
I used to watch Pokemon when it's on the Sci-Fi channel.
Yeah, before even Sky One got hold of it.
Before anyone knew what it was.
Yeah.
So thanks.
You were ahead of the curve.
I was.
So anyway, normal Pokemon gym leader, Gemma.
So what I've done with each of these types is I have defined them for myself.
Yeah,
okay?
I've got a kind of
based on my own definition, which has been far removed from what the Pokemon one was. Because when I play Pokemon, it didn't have all these types. These are all new ones. Okay,
there's a few new ones in there.
Right. So, and also I used to ignore the types because I'm not really into complicated games. So I was never really. I just went, I've got more HP than you, so I'm going to win. And if I don't win, then this game's stupid.
You didn't even go by that's the nicest looking Pokemon.
I don't care. All right, so normal, I have described this as ordinary, boring and nondescript.
Me too.
And I have given this to, controversially, Peter.
What?
Yeah. Tyrone, Sarah and Maria.
I suppose Tyrone is a bit of an everyman sort of character, isn't he?
We've got a lot of categories to get through.
Do you want to justify any of those?
Well, Peter. Well, I think they're all boring, ordinary, and nondescript.
Solid, kind of.
These people could be people you know in real life.
I've gone with people that are kind of famed for being a bit boring, either intentionally or that's just how they've
Well, I've got a different
turned out.
category for that.
So I've got Ken as a possible normal type leader. Obviously, classically the most boring, even though he's not. Chesney could be a normal type leader, although I think just being the leader of anything is a bit too exciting for Chesney.
Oh,
Robert,
gosh.
dull as you like. Roy, I think, could make a good normal type leader.
Yeah.
But I might just give it to Stella Price because the colour
Queen.
coding for normal Pokemon in the game is kind of beigey, browny, grey, and that was her.
All over.
Her defining characteristic, that she was always dressed as dully as the character was. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Stella for this one with a few runners up. Next up, then we've got the fire type. Do you want to alternate who goes first, or let's alternate? I've got a couple of fiery redheads for this as some of my choices, so I think I can imagine Jenny there, Elsie Tanner, Rita, Fizz, Claudia. I think would make an awesome fire type leader. I can kind of imagine them all there, like flames behind them and just looking sort of powerful and sexy and fiery.
Yes.
So there's those possibly, but also I thought from a different slant I might give the fire type leader to somebody who is known to be associated with fires, so having a little hope there as battling them away through the gym, only to find that the leader there is a little girl with a firelighter could be good, or maybe Carl Monroe, because he was the one that set fire to the Rovers. Did you have any of those as your picks, or anybody different?
I defined fire as being more of a sort of a quippy kind of, always has a quip. Somebody who's a bit sharp-tongued.
Yeah.
So I've given that to Tracy, Liz and Moira, because I think those people are fiery in the... I also only did current characters.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I've got a few older ones in here. So you see Moira with the red hair, I think she would fit the bill quite nicely. I'm trying to think of the theming. Okay.
Fighting type.
That
That really just speaks for itself. I don't think we need to define it anymore. And I've got exactly the top two as you have. I've got Gary and Kevin in there. And I thought this was kind of a boring category for me because I thought it was obvious. You just fight whoever's
people
fighting.
who punch first and talk later. I've also got Tim on my list as well. Although we haven't seen as much of that side of Tim recently. I thought that maybe somebody like Josh, because he was a boxer, and sometimes the fighting Pokemon are ones that are related to martial arts, or not that boxing is a martial art, but you know what I mean.
Of course.
Jim McDonald, another one, very handy with his fists, domestic violence. But then also I was wondering whether people
the domestic violence Pokemon.
Pokemon Black and Blue.
Oh no. Get out.
I also wonder whether somebody related to the army could be a fighting type Jim and fighting type leader, say like Albert Tatlock or somebody maybe. Possibly. Water type next. So I didn't know whether to go with a character that's just a bit wet. So somebody like Chesley could be a good one there. But I was trying to also think of character who are related to the sea. I think that my number one pick would have to be Jude for this, the fake marine biologist. Maybe somebody he could be a fake out where you battle your way through the gym to get there, and he gets out all these water Pokemon, but actually he doesn't know how to fight, and they're just using the rubbish moves that don't do any damage or something.
It's not even you look around, suddenly you realise it's not even a Pokemon gym, it's a cardboard box.
Jude's just got a load of Magikarp. But so I thought with him maybe I was thinking of I was thinking of Joe McIntyre, who met his watery end on Gale Force. But there's
not
also
on Gale Force, that would have been handy if he was on it. He wouldn't have drowned there, would he?
Falling off of it. I was thinking of Peter with his naval links, and then also obviously Kieran McCarthy as well. And I've also got Graham down because he's a window cleaner. I suppose there's been a few window cleaners. Stan Ogden as well. I'm just really thinking of some tenuous watery links here.
I've decided to go for water as a personality description. So anyone who's chilled or laid back, goes with the flow.
Yeah.
And I've put down Tim.
Also window cleaner.
Toya and Shona, because I think all those people are quite, at the moment in the show, not necessarily relating to how they have been in the past when they've got a storyline to attend to. But I think, especially Shona, I think she's quite chilled.
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
laid
she
back.
is.
And so is Toya when she's not trying to steal your baby.
And I'm thinking about the colour typings as well, and just the design of it. And you got Shona in her blue jeans all the time, haven't you? And that fits nicely
I
with the
think
water
saying
theming.
jeans are blue is cheating somewhat. Denim's a neutral, Michael.
I was thinking of something else. Oh, you know, I said earlier about sometimes like the water gym leader can be some sexy girl in a bikini, so we could have like Rosie maybe doing that job as well, the water type. I can imagine they're doing a swimsuit, or Raquel or somebody doing the swimsuit modelling. Next up, Gemma,
Flying.
flying type. This was a bit of a harder one for me to begin with.
How
I
did
think,
you
so.
define flying type?
I've got a couple of definitions. So I want to hear yours
Mine,
first.
I just decided that I've written a word I can't say.
What's that?
Are you going to bleep it?
Go on then.
Absolutely batshit. And unhinged.
Interesting. That's not what I've gone with at all. But carry on. Go on. Who you got?
I've got a few. There's loads of people here. But different types of being unhinged. So Robert is in there because he's flying high at the moment,
Oh, yeah,
like
for now.
Icarus, close to the sun, thinking that he's doing all right. Any minute now, his
Ooh.
wings are going to melt and he's going to plummet into the ocean.
Tell you what, Kembala would have loved that literary reference there.
But Boris Johnson's dad probably doesn't even think I should know it. Ryan, he's a bit of a crazy lad, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm just going to go to Copenhagen. Who does that? At the drop of a hat. Steve,
Yeah.
Dev, Emma, Gemma, they're all a bit nuts.
Yeah.
And I think that loopy kind of flying, woo, all the other Pokemon just happy to be on the ground. These ones flying around. What's that about? Crazy.
Well, I was thinking of characters, partly I was thinking of characters who are a bit of a flighty madam.
Oh,
so somebody
flighty
like
madams.
Audrey is often called a
Oh.
bit flighty, so she could be a bird, a flying type.
bird.
leader. She's all right, yeah. But no, I didn't even have her on my list here. She just
No.
came into my head. I thought Billy, because he has survived a cliff fall, so there's got to be some kind of element of flight in there. I've got Jack Duckworth, because he had his pigeons. I can imagine him standing there, and he's got all these. There is a pigeon kind of Pokemon called a Pidove, and he could have a load of those. But then we also had other bird-owning Coronation Street characters in the past. Percy, Mavis and Derek had their budgies, so they could use them to battle with. But then also
What was Mavis's budgie called?
Harry
Yes.
/ Harriet.
Yeah.
I can't remember which way round, but
Harry
did they think it was a... And then I also thought an ultimate flying type gym leader, ironically, could be John Lindsay, who was the one that Deirdre's con man ex-boyfriend who got her sent into jail by pretending to be a pilot and then conning her into using someone else's credit card. So those I've got some properly flying wings related picks of my flying
good
type
job.
gym leaders.
Yeah, I did more personality types for mine.
Yeah, it's fine. Grass type next. We've got a long way to go on
I know,
this
this is
list.
what I mean.
That's fine. I think quite a good one would be Izzy, because she's known to
No.
partake of the grass.
Okay, right, yeah.
Similar with Spider as well. If you're going down the drugs route there. Toya, I've got as a grass type leader because she's all with nature.
Okay.
Vegetarian, greens. Like she likes her greens. Does
Vegetarians
Toya.
eat grass. Next.
Emily, up a tree.
Mm-hmm.
She could have I could imagine Emily's gym being a tree that you have to kind of go round and round and round the trunk, battling trainers on the way, and then you get
I
to the
think-
very top, and Emily's there with her Pokemon.
I think Emily would respond to that. It was one time!
Yeah. Climb a tree and protest once.
And then
That's
you
all
never
anyone wants to ask you about.
You never shake it.
I thought that Brian with his gardening could be quite a good grassy gym leader, and Tracy as well, because obviously she's got a flower shop, so she is in a way at one with nature there.
Lovely,
Who have
good
you got?
choices.
I got a few.
I just went with the term grass, like you're grass.
Oh, yeah, nice.
And I just put in all the goody two shoes.
Go on.
I put in Craig.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a grass, isn't he?
He'd sail you down the river.
Billy.
Yeah.
He always finding stuff out. Grass
Always
shop.
has to tell you the truth.
And I also put Imran in there because I think he's probably a bit of a goody two shoes as well.
Yeah.
I bet he wouldn't like it when he finds out Adam's been up to
Oh, yeah.
shenanigans.
Yeah, with Michelle. I like how we've interpreted some of these quite
Completely
differently.
differently.
Who's next?
Poison.
Yeah. Who you
Poison
got?
type. That is somebody who's sneaky, evil and beguiling.
That's kind of what I've gone for, yeah.
Who have you got?
I think the one that's going to come to mind straight away is Ivy Brennan, Ivy Tilsley, isn't it? Because she was known as Poison Ivy. Although, still watching her, I think that she wasn't as bad as everybody made out. She was just trying to do...
Misunderstood.
She just was really, really keen on her religion and was gonna does things.
I mean, to be fair, if I was, I would be a bit zealot about it as well, because if I thought everyone was going to hell,
yeah,
I might mention it a few times.
Yeah. Tracy, I've got as poisonous. I'm just trying to think of bitchy characters.
Yeah.
So and the fact that she kind of works at a flower shop as well, and I'm thinking of poison flowers kind of thing. So I've gone with Tracy. There hasn't been very much poisoning on Coronation Street. There's a untapped storyline potential there, but at one time, I don't know if you remember Teresa, who tried to poison Jerry Morton once so she could get there. She went out with Lloyd for a little bit, I think. But also, I haven't written this one down. I was thinking this morning that watching classic Coronation Street at the moment, Tanya Pooley would be quite a good poison gym leader, because she is a right bitch. Who have you got?
I've just got Michelle and Nick.
Okay.
Because I think
Michelle
definitely poisonous, horrible, sneaky, nasty cow. But also Nick, he's very underhanded. And I think if he thought he could get away with poisoning a few people, he probably would.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I like that one.
It's like there's a kind of total lack of concern about other people to be a poisoner.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Oh, could you have just like a landlord or a landlady as a poison type, because given alcohol, which don't do your liver very good if it's in the large
thought
quantities.
You could drink a glass of wine a day and it's good for you.
Next up, we've got the electric one. I don't think I've got very good ideas for this one. Who have you gone for your electric?
Well, I
gym
defined
leaders?
electric as exciting, enticing, and charismatic.
Okay.
And so I put in Abby, Yasmin, and Jenny.
Yes.
Who are three sparky ladies who always light the screen up with their integral electricity and energy.
I just went a little bit more literal with this one, and I was looking for Coronation Street characters who were electricians.
Well, I mean, that would be Mary today, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, good point.
She said she was going to look at his spark plugs or whatever.
Yeah. So I've got, like, Tony Stewart, Jim McDonald knew his way around a plug, and then I did a bit of a search on the Corriepedia as well for electrician. Cheating. And it turned out that Jessie of Higher Lower fame was an electrician.
Why do you want to jack that in to be a children's entertainer?
And Dickie Fleming from way back in the 60s was an electrician as well. But I also thought that possibly Valerie Barlow could give it a shot with a sparking hairdryer, or Leslie Kershaw, of course.
No, bad taste. Electrocuting herself with a toaster.
Yeah. Next.
Ground type.
Yeah, what have you gone for there?
Bit thick.
Okay, yeah.
Kirk. Also
thick as mud.
Bit thick, but also down to earth.
Yeah. You just Kirk for that one. I was doing again a bit more literal here, and I've gone for Archie Shuttleworth, who's involved in the burial business. Rick Neelan, who did dig a grave for Gary, but ended up in it himself, and Phelan also. I suppose for the builder-out element of it as well. And well, actually, Phelan had Vinny and Andy trapped in concrete, didn't he? The concrete twins. So that could go with the whole ground theming.
You know what they say? You can't dig your own grave and have it too.
That's what they say. Right, halfway through the list, everybody. We're getting there. I'm enjoying them. I'm still enjoying this.
Good, cool.
Psychic type. Rosemary, obviously.
Yeah,
Coronation Street's latest psychic. I've got Maud Grimes, just because I saw her recently doing a bit of
Hocus Pocus.
Rover's Halloween night on classic Coronation Street. Hilda Ogden, in touch with the spirits with that seance that she did, and also Amy, because she claimed to be able to communicate with Blanche from beyond the grave. So I've kind of gone. I suppose we could have Sarah as well, because she thought that she could hear Callum. Yeah.
I've put Amy because of what you said, but also put Mary in there because I can imagine her. I don't know whether she's ever claimed to have psychic powers, but I can imagine her going, "Oh, Mother always did say that I could see beyond the realm of mortals."
Yeah, that's a good one. Next.
Rock.
Who have you got?
Nothing going on.
You haven't got any idea. I found
No,
no. Oh, that's what. Oh, I thought you.
No, rock is nothing's happening.
Okay.
Chesney and Izzy.
Yeah, just standing
Nothing's
characters
happening.
that are standing still.
Just rocks.
You haven't gone for people who are like a real, rock foundation to the street.
Oh no.
I was just thinking of like, I know this has just come to me with you saying that, like Ken is a real rock in Coronation Street. No.
Grey and unmoving.
Peter, he's a proper rock, and Peter means rock as well in the biblical sense as well. But no,
It
I
also
didn't go.
means pecker.
Does it?
You little Peter.
Oh, okay. I've just gone for builders again here. So Owen, Gary, Phelan, Len Fairclough, Charlie.
I think your understanding of what the types are is a lot more just based on the game, which is right.
Mine's more literal
different.
to the elements, and you've gone for the personality types. So it's good we've got different ideas. And I've got Andy and Vinny as an option here because they were the concrete twins. And I could sometimes when you go to a gym on Coronation Street, there's 2 gym leaders at the end that work together. So
you go to a gym on Coronation Street.
Sorry, on Pokemon. Go to the gym in Coronation Street, and it's closed, and nothing's happening here. Okay, ice type. I think I had to go with Anne Malone for this, who was the
famously died in the freezer.
At Freshco's. So I could imagine her stepping out of a freezer, and the swirling ice around her, like Elsa. And so she could be, but then I've also written down...
Anne Malone, Coronation Street's answer to Elsa from Frozen.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, yeah.
Also, I put down Eric Furman, who was in charge of Furman's Freezers. I thought that would fit quite nicely.
Well, I've just gone with ice as in cool and unbothered, and I've put Carla in there.
Yeah,
So
I like that. That
like.
makes sense. I found the next one quite difficult. There's
Me too, until I thought of...
Bug type, I've just gone with spider because that seemed to be the easiest.
It's a bug! I've gone with bug as in scum of the earth.
Oh, okay.
So I've put Jeff, Tyler and Cal in there.
Yeah, I just want to... Characters you want to squish like a bug.
Yeah.
You could have gone with characters that really bug us as well.
Well, it
characters
works,
you find
the
really
same
annoying.
3.
Okay, dragon type.
I've just gone with people who I think are wise, haughty and imperious.
Okay.
So and also a bit, barbarous. Not barbarous, barbed.
Yeah. Thorny.
Why? Evelyn, Rita, and Claudia.
Yeah,
I think if they were mythical beasts, they would be all dragons.
Yeah, well, I've gone down a similar route. I've looked at the battle axe kind of characters to be the dragons, the Blanche, Sylvia, Ena Sharples. So we've kind of gone down the same sort of.
I tried to think of a man that could go
in.
in that category because I was thinking that's really sexist, but they just don't have any men like these characters.
Not really.
Because the thing about it is that there's always a bit of comedy.
Yeah.
With the men who are more like that, like Norris, they always seem to bark. Their bark's worse than their bite because there's something inherently sinister about a man who is like this.
But if somebody is described as being a bit of a dragon, that's usually a woman that's described as that, isn't it? Or watch out for her, she's a bit of a dragon. Yeah,
it's sexist though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if a man was it, you'd be like, you wouldn't call him a funny name.
No.
You'd just say he's scary.
Right, ghost type Pokemon leader. So I've got Callum, possibly haunting Sarah for Beyond the Grave. I've gone back to some of the other ones. They're similar to the psychics. I've got Hilda here as well. I was trying to think of characters who have Blanche, possibly because she was kind
Google Earth.
And also the frail appearance and the white hair and everything would fit the mood with it quite well. And she was very into funerals, wasn't she, when she was alive? So in touch with the ghosts, the spirit world. I thought Brendan with his Tales of the Unexpected magazine or whatever it was called, Inexplicable. I can't remember. I've got Nina, recent entry with a goth
type,
or Rosie when she was going through her goth stage could make a good ghost gym leader.
I just really copped out here. This was the last one I came to. I just put anyone who's dead. Could be a ghost.
Fine.
Yeah, good job, Gemma.
Who have you got?
Dark is the next one. And I've defined this as anyone who's got secrets or has done evil deeds. So I've put Ali and David. Because I didn't want to repeat people in categories. I could have repeated people. And like I said, I only did current characters with one exception.
Ali does have a dark side to him, doesn't he? He's got that big secret.
I think David's the best dark type.
He is very dark. I've got David as one of my choices, actually, with dark sense of humour.
Oh, yeah.
I've put Carla.
You've got a weird one.
I know.
Carry on.
I've got Carla and Michelle as possible dark types,
just because their wardrobe choice.
Yeah, their wardrobe, their hair, their just black.
They're
And Carla's decor style. She liked the black in her flat, didn't she? I put Roy as a possibility because he likes his bats, and I can imagine going through a dark type gym and Roy being there with a load of batty kind of Pokemon flying around him.
You'd have to stop for a lecture about how Roy would tell you that bats are very misunderstood and actually they're not agents of darkness. They just like hanging around in caves.
Yeah,
which is not the same as being evil.
Roy used bat facts.
No, I'm confused.
The opponent fell asleep.
Yeah.
No, but I'm not going with any of those. I'm going a bit fourth wall breaking with my dark type leader and going with Kate Oates. Because Queen of Darkness, Kate Oates. I know she's not a Coronation Street character, but
she's part of the world now.
She is part of the Coronation Street universe.
Yeah.
So who better than the one that brought darkness to Coronation Street for her 2 years, or 2-3 years
the
on
reign
the show.
of terror.
Couple left. Steel type Pokemon. Who have you gone for?
Oh, this was really difficult.
I found this one quite difficult. I've gone with kind of I've gone for a silver fox Robert at first. Also, he's quite handy with a knife, so I can imagine him there. Yeah, sharpening his blade around. Yeah, I've gone with also Freddie Smith, who everyone remember him, that character who's from play school and then he was in Corrie for a year and then buggered off into the distance. So because he liked his bikes. And then I've also said Kevin and maybe Tyrone as well for the mechanic angle.
Because steel is what bikes and cars are made of.
They work with metal things is basically what I've gone for those ones.
I just went, they're kind of hard-edged and difficult to define.
Okay.
And I just put Johnny because I sort of ran out of
steam there. Okay, finally, yes, everybody, don't worry, we're almost at the end of our lists. We've got the fairy type, which, fact fans, is the most recently introduced type in Pokemon. It's only been a couple of games worth where there's been a fairy type, and at first I thought this was a quite difficult one, and then I thought who's a bit Tinkerbellish and who was a bit airy fairy head in the clouds sort of character who could actually be a fairy. So I've gone for the likes of Sinead, Raquel, Emma, Eva, really kind of girly sort of characters.
Yeah, I've gone for Sinead, and I've also put in Alina.
Oh, yeah, Alina.
Because I think if a fairy could speak, she would sound like Alina.
Yes.
Can you just imagine her going, "Hello, I am a little fairy. You have summoned me from the other lands.
Pop, she has appeared.
Hello, I'm beautiful. I don't do anything, but would you like me to paint your nails?
Well,
I can do it with magic."
That's it. I enjoyed that.
Also, I can imagine her entering a room and sort of going bling, 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 bling.
Yes.
Like a fairy.
She'd be a great fairy. She'd be brilliant.
We should write in and tell her. Have you ever considered a job as a fairy?
Right.
That's it.
I thought we had some good choices there. That was quite fun.
I hope that was interesting.
Well, like I said at the beginning, if people didn't want to sit and listen to that,
it's only because it's a very narrow. The Venn diagram of Coronation Street fans and Pokemon enthusiasts.
I'm thinking
perhaps I'm being a bit too negative. Perhaps it really does overlap more than I thought.
Well, Pokemon is the *1 media franchise in the world.
Best-selling franchise.
The best-selling franchise, the highest grossing. The most
amount of money.
Yeah, of all franchises. So surely some Coronation Street viewers also got to love this. I mean, we did our Game of Thrones crossover earlier this year, didn't we?
But we had very special guests on for that.
We did. We didn't have any special guests on for this one. We just
had me, and I barely know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I think you did a good job, and I like how we had different interpretations of some of the types as well. Well, as always, listeners, if you have been inspired by any of our discussion in this section and you're there's any Coronation
Thank you,
Street
Adam, for the
weddings,
question.
yes, thank you. Any Coronation Street weddings that particularly stand out to you that we've missed, or any that you think that yes, we totally agree with that one that you said, I think too. Or if you're a massive Poké nerd as well, and you want to tell us some types, then please let us know. Now we did have just Rebecca on the Patreon group say what her choices for Pokemon are. I think these are similar to ours. She said Johnny is the rock type, and he is kind of a rugged guy, isn't he? Which could be a good definition for that. She's gone for Tracy with the grass type, Jenny fire, Emma fairy, Mary ghost. I don't think we said Mary for the ghost. We went down the psychic route for her. Tim and Kevin fighting, Ivy poison, and she thinks that anybody who is feisty or has a temper could be there for electric type.
Good choices.
So, thank you.
Somebody else
Rebecca,
did it.
Somebody else did it. Rebecca's going to have enjoyed this discussion. If nobody else,
and
Rebecca,
Adam, hopefully.
We've done this for you. Hopefully, Adam.
Yeah, Adam's probably there going,
as he asked for it.
I forgot I even said this.
Yeah, and I will say George as well. I hope you're listening. I did tell you earlier this week, George, that we were doing this, and I'm doing a bit of Pokemon trading with him this week, so hopefully he has listened, enjoyed, and appreciated, and knows who some of these characters are that we're talking about. Right, we're going to move on to a bit of news in the cabin now.